We are in 2022. We cannot wait 7 days to receive the money from our customer. It needs to happen in a matter of seconds. If you have your banking app installed in your phone, the volume button shows up and in one click it opens your favorite banking app to complete the payment. That's how we move conversion rates.
So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about building a headless and transparent checkout experience with open banking. It's a great episode you do not want to miss, so do stay tuned. Hello 2Xers, welcome to the 2X eCommerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle Campbell. The 2X eCommerce podcast is dedicated to digital commerce insights for retail and e-commerce teams. Each week on this podcast, we interview a commerce expert, a founder of a digital native consumer brand, or representative from a best-in-class commerce SaaS product. They all have a tight remit to give you ideas you can test right away on your brands, so that if you want to improve commerce growth metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, your audience size, and ultimately your gross merchant value or sales, they're here. We are here to help you sell more sustainably. So on today's episode, if you're in the UK, this will be very important to you. Why? Because we talk about open banking. Open banking is a way in which you unlock information and access to banking technology via APIs. And it's a standard currently being developed and led by the UK. So I'll give you a use case. I'm trying to pay for like a utility, like my electricity bill online. And one of the most annoying things is their checkout flow, their checkout process. It is not the best, essentially. And so now when you go through these services, there's an option to pay with your banking app. So what happens is that checkout sort of redirects a layer. It's like a one-click layer checkout, which will recognize the mobile banking app I have installed on my phone, or I, select it, and then my mobile banking app actually interacts with that checkout experience to make payment and almost instantaneously. It really depends on the user experience, delivered by the app. That's one use case of open banking. Open banking also gives you better analytics through reports on the way you're using your banking app beyond what the bank has created, essentially. So my conversation here with Simone Martinelli, who is the founder of a service called Volume, they're providing like open banking services for e-commerce merchants. So in your checkouts, if you're running BigCommerce or Magento and you happen to be in the UK, you can now add pay with your banking app, pay with Monzo. It would pop in as an option at checkout for you to present to users as another option. And the nice thing about it is that it can be price adjusted because you pay less. I think he mentioned the fact that you pay 0.5% in transaction fees versus 3%, sometimes 4, even 5% if you're using something like PayPal for transactions. So the transactional charges are actually low with open banking. So I thought to really share this conversation with yourselves, particularly UK merchants, as a way to test. Because as I said, the objective of this show is to give you ideas you could test to improve metrics. Would this lead to an uplift in your conversions? Are people adopting pay with their bank? Is that hitting adoption, or are people preferring to pay with credit? It really depends on who you're selling to, what you're selling. It's very nuanced, right? So this conversation really was to really get into what they're doing, how they're thinking about the checkout. I was thinking about the checkout, essentially. He gives just a few tips around just checkout practices, best practices for your checkout. And it's really an exploratory conversation around how the checkout experience should be with open banking. If you're in the UK, this will be relevant. If you're not in the UK, it may not be relevant. And that's why this is a bonus episode, okay? I hope you enjoy the conversation, and I shall catch you on the other side. Cheers. Right, Simone, it's a pleasure to have you on the 2X e-commerce podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Kunle. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Where are you dialing in from?
I'm dialing from London.
All right. Whereabouts in London are you?
Oh, we have a small offices near the Battersea Power Station. That's
Ah,
beautiful up here.
I love it. I love it. And it's got the park, which you could just pop in and go for a run and get fresh air by the Thames. I digress. So yeah, so you're the founder CEO of Volume, which is a one-click checkout solution essentially for that integrates with open banking, and you're essentially you said you wanted to make Visa or Mastercard not a thing at checkout any longer and allow people pay directly with their bank account with one click. That's your
That's
product.
exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly. And being an ex Mastercard, it's a bit weird to say because I was on the other side of the table. But yeah, that's what we are actually doing at the moment.
Okay, so we're going to go back to because you just mentioned your ex Mastercard trying to get rid of all your colleagues, your ex colleagues,
That's
really.
pretty much
Well,
there. They deserve a very long holiday after the hard work of the last 20 years.
fantastic. Let's go back to your beginnings, your background. Do you started out in crypto? Should we speak to your beginnings, and then we'll just try and see the evolution to the founding of Volume.
Of course, as you can guess from my accent, I'm originally Italian, but I started my journey in payment in the early days of crypto, where the value of Bitcoin was practically nothing. And the only way to mine Bitcoin was to break down your PlayStation 2 and link it to your laptop so you could speed up the mining. That were the good old days, let's put it that way. So since then, it was clear for me that a
How
career
many
in
Bitcoin
payment.
did you mine?
I don't even want to know because they're still locked in the old laptop in my parents' place somewhere.
Ah, okay, let's not go there. Okay, go on. Pete. So,
So that was obvious that career in payment, that's what I wanted to do in the
mm,
long run.
mm,
That's how
mm,
everything started.
super interesting. And then what did you were 17 at the time? Did you go to uni? Did you just not think about uni, just thinking about payments? What was the trajectory?
I did a bit of uni, was computer science, tried to go down that route. I turned out to be a better product manager than a developer.
Mm,
So a bit of a pivot there. And in the UK, when I moved to the UK 8 years ago, I started a PhD at Imperial College, but it wasn't really my road. And so I dropped out and I started to join the fintech industry in a Bitcoin startup.
okay, okay. So between that, we must not miss out your stint at a Mastercard. You were product manager there, and also World Remit, which is remittance, international remittance, company. So as a product manager, you're it's a creative space, isn't it? You're building essentially. You're responsible for what the next features in the product in a product will deliver. So what were your insights in just in Mastercard and World Remit, from product managers? Where did you think payments, where did you, what were your, could you give us insights from both stints, please?
Of course, product management is a very exciting job because you get the chance to speak with engineers and customers, and you need to be quite creative to solve your customer's problem. And solving problems from in a company like Mastercard, it means that you're dealing with large e-commerce businesses across the world, from US to UK to Australia, like Walmart or Amazon and these sort of guys, and help them to accept and increase the checkout experience when they take payment from their customers. Um, in what Dream It, you're working more on a B to C side, in a consumer proposition, helping friends and family to send money home with a convenient exchange fee. So
Mm,
it's a different angle that give us a bit of an overview of how the payment landscape is surely complicated,
mm,
but also the opportunities that are there. And we got really
mm,
passionate about something when we were at Word Remit is about the hidden fees at the checkout.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
what nobody knows is that whenever we pay £100 online to buy a T-shirt on Amazon or in any other e-commerce website, there are fees that the e-commerce businesses are paying to accept these payments, which ultimately creates a non-sustainable financial network, and that's something that we want to change at Volume.
mm. What we're talking about sometimes 3%. So about 3% typically.
Can go even higher. It can go up to 6% if you include the fees for currency exchange um, and different type of cards. So it can be higher. And ultimately, the interesting fact is that um, we calculate that in the UK, the average hidden fees paid by online shopper are actually £850 per user per year. So it means that we can enable merchant to pay less and their customer to pay less if we build a financially inclusive network.
Okay, so let's start out with volume, which is the what you guys do, which is what you founded. When did you start volume?
We started 9 months ago.
Okay, and you're the universal checkout experience for commerce. That's how you phrase yourself in on your Crunchbase, right? So at this point you're a checkout for like e-commerce stores. Do you work beyond e-commerce? Do you work with like service providers for with your one-click checkout?
Yes, we do work with two other partners. One is service providers, and the
Mhm.
second one is e-commerce platform like BigCommerce, for instance.
Okay, makes a lot of sense, right? So how why open banking? Why now? There's a lot of strides. There's a lot of strides been made, with open banking over the years. So why do you think? What are the benefits of open banking, and how how do you fit in with volume?
Open banking, we believe, is truly will open up the next generation of payment, and the why is very simple. There is an interesting article published by A16Z in one of the VC elaborate clearly what it takes to build a universal checkout, which I think is actually ticks all the boxes. And the first point is around convenience. We need somebody needs to help e-commerce merchant to save the fees applied by Mastercard and Visa and Stripe and all these guys. The second is real-time settlement. We are in 2022. We cannot wait 7 days to receive the money from our customer. It needs to happen in a matter of seconds. And the third one is the lack of fraud. At the moment, card rails are full of potential vulnerabilities that
Mhm.
creates a non-secure experience. And open banking enable and real-time payment enable exactly this functionality for merchants. That's why we think is the next big thing in payment.
Okay, and you're addressing this issue with technology, which can be integrated on the web, digital technology in the web. Um, do you see this sort of making its way at physical checkouts in retail? Because at the moment, the default, if you do not want to use credits, is a debit card.
We do see an opportunity for in-store. Um, the challenge that we're having is that, and the entire industry is having, is that QR code are actually not a thing. And online shop, like people like us, hate. I don't know about you, Canly, but do you actually like to scan your QR code when you pay online when you can just tap your card?
So It's a good question. I not tried it. Not it's not become a habit. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Um,
whether in Asia, it's actually taking off. US and UK and European market are completely different.
mhm,
There is a particular attention to the user experience.
mm.
And QR code has been around for 10 years and has not yet taken off. So our bet that we need a better technology before we need to enable in-store payment.
Mm. We need better tech to enable. Yeah, and so on the web, what's your data? Telling you you've been you've been in market for about 9 months now. And are you addressing where you're addressing the issue at the SME level, enterprise? What is the appetite, or what's actually where do you see a lot of activity now and opportunity?
Yeah, we're focusing on the SMEs, and our pitch for the SMEs is very simple. We help them
Mm,
to sell more and spend less. Sell more because we increase conversion rate at the checkout, and spend less because we use open banking rails instead of the traditional card rails.
mm.
We really want to support these SMEs. They need much more help than the one they're getting. Otherwise, we will end up on Amazon owning every e-commerce piece on the planet. And these
Why would
SMEs
Amazon?
really,
Why do you think Amazon would take over?
because of course they're using their position as a market leader to kill anybody else. I think Shopify did a great job to support the SMEs, but nobody actually helped the SMEs at the checkout, and we want to be the Shopify for the checkout.
Okay. So Shopify, as much as Shopify has a handful of third party integrations, a lot of Shopify merchants are don't even think about moving off Shopify's default checkout flow. How do you think volume will appeal to non-Shopify, merchants? Do you have any plans to working with the Shopify payments team to get to get integration with Shopify? Are you looking at Shopify or not
We do
quite?
look at e-commerce platform. Shopify is one of
Mm,
it, and just to clarify, we're not competing with them. We are a win-win solution where
mm,
Shopify offer the website, the content management, the logistic, the order management, and we do the one-click checkout on their
mm.
website. So we are a plugin on Shopify. We start
Okay.
with other e-commerce platform like BigCommerce is the first of the list where we start because they have a very open source functionality,
Platform.
open source platform. But that's where we're going. We really
Okay.
believe in creating a financially inclusive network. So
Yeah.
we really
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is I last year I sat with the founder of Fast, the online checkout, the one click online checkout DOM, and their focus was WooCommerce. So they were not looking at all at Shopify merchants, just due to the barriers they put in, and as you alluded to, he also mentioned BigCommerce at checkout.
we got compared quite often to Fast.co.
Yeah.
The difference is that Fast.co use card rails,
Hmm.
so their price is like 3%.
Mm,
And we go to the market with a price that is 3 times cheaper than cards and 10 times cheaper than PayPal, which is
mm,
0.75%.
mm.
So if you compare these fees against the Stripe fees or the Fast fees, we are the cheapest payment method at the checkout for e-commerce merchant.
So another question I have is, as a merchant, because lots of merchants listen to this show, would you, can you use volume side by side with other checkout solutions? So, or is volume meant to be an exclusive one click checkout for e commerce experiences?
It's a good question. What we have seen is that e-commerce merchants have the possibility to add as a payment method. Um, some brave merchants actually decommission the entire payment method set and only leave volume at their checkout.
Mhm.
And why? Because at today the checkout experience it's very crowded. There is card, there is Apple Pay, there is PayPal, Klarna, Affirm, buy now pay later solution, and ultimately this money all come from the bank account of your customer, and we connect directly with your banking app. So what is the point of connecting to PayPal where behind PayPal there is still the bank account of the customer? What is the point of paying with Apple Pay if inside Apple Pay there is still the bank account of the customer? We enable this direct account-to-account payment, which is frictionless and for e-commerce businesses and online shopper.
Which is why I think your proposition is very interesting, given the fact that that, as you said, that it's coming from their bank accounts. It's just that shoppers at this point in time need to be educated, around this. I think, but if open banking continues to make strides, then you're well positioned to get a lot of market share. My question has to do now with like the geos. You guys are operating in. Open banking is very. It's making its strides in the UK. What are the alternatives to open banking in the States and Europe, or should we even define open banking? Because a lot of our audience is not necessarily in the fintech space. They're more merchants and operators.
Of course, I think the alternative of so when open banking, what it essentially means is that banks are forced to open their data to create to enable third party like us to build new services for online shopper and merchant. It's very simple. It's data that previously were not accessible by third parties. Now with open banking they are, and solution like us then come to life and help e-commerce businesses. To your question about US, the equivalent of open banking in US for approximation might be real-time payment. So ACH and real-time payment.
And do the access to data in real time and ACH payment, is it as as generous as open banking, in terms of access to payment data?
So the interesting trend that we've seen in the last 5 years is that despite open banking started as an UK initiative, now is not only, of course, extended with PSD to Europe, but also Australia is moving into that direction, and US is looking into joining this global standard of banking API, essentially. And it would be fantastic to have a standard on a global level. Very unrealistic, but at least having a 2-3 standard on a global level would make a massive help in increasing the checkout
Adoption.
experience and adoption.
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense. So really, the UK here is in cutting edge, because this is really clever tech. So when I'm paying like utility bills, I use open banking. I don't like the checkout experience for most utility providers, but maybe Octopus Energy, on payments. In terms of like the checkout forms are very convoluted. They don't look secure. But when the open banking, particularly on the mobile, is so easy to integrate with my bank, and it's instant. It's just a debit from my account. Okay, makes a ton of sense. And in terms of adoption, with the data you have thus far, what how are you converting shoppers towards creating accounts with your? Do you need to create an account with a one-click checkout, or
I love your question because we don't need to create an account. As long as you have your banking app installed in your phone, our solution works. Most of the payment methods out there, Fast, PayPal, etc., they actually using the e-commerce website and app to get their own customer acquisition, which means that you need to create an account with PayPal before you're actually using it. With us, we don't do that. If you have your banking app installed in your phone, the volume button shows up, and in one click, it opens your favorite banking app to complete the payment.
Mm.
That's how we move conversion rates. A lot has been said around helping merchants to improve conversion rates. We are taking it to the next level because of no sign-up process that is required.
Right. So what is a typical call to action to a volume, one-click checkout at a checkout? So I would assume, if I was a retailer, speaking to like mid-market retailers that listen to this show, turning over 1 million to 25 million in revenue. A lot of them will see volume. Obviously, we're now looking at a subset of them. The UK-based one would see volume as an add-on to their checkout. They will still have those options because shoppers want those options anyway. So if you were to add volume as one of the payments, what call to action? How would you describe it? Is it pay with open banking or pay with your banking app? How are sort of retailers sort of framing the use of deploying volume or encouraging usage of volume or open banking as a means to make payments?
It's a completely white labeled solution. And to give you an example,
Uh,
kindly, what's your bank, if I can ask?
Monzo.
Monzo,
Yeah.
fabulous. So you go on a merchant website, you see your sunglasses, I need to get ready for the summer. And
Mm.
you have two options, either add to cart or pay with Monzo, with the Monzo brand. And when you click pay with Monzo, your banking app comes up. Volume is nowhere. It's absolutely white labeling, and we don't want to impact. And that's how we are able to move the needle better than
So
anybody
your
else.
infrastructure, your payment infrastructure, your payment layer.
We call it
Yeah.
transparent checkout because it
Right.
takes the brand of your favorite banking app. So for
Love
you,
that.
it's Monzo. For me, it's Revolut because Revolut is my favorite banking app. We are the headless checkout that personalize the button based on individual customer.
Sorry, headless checkout. Yeah. Fantastic. That's that. No, I love this. I love this.
Did I manage to convince you to use us at the next shopping?
No, this podcast is not in any way geared towards encouraging people to use any apps. I really just want to know more about open banking and its potential, at checkout. That's the reason why we brought you guys on. And I think I've learned, I'm cleverer. I've left this conversation with much more insights into how you can go about open banking at checkout that is headless. So I just want to thank you for coming on to the podcast. For those who want to find out more about Volume, it's getvolume.co.uk. At the moment, it's only open to UK merchants. That may change, and then Simone, for those who want to sort of follow you, are you active on any social media platforms? How best can they reach out to you?
Fantastic. No, on our website there is a chat with us that goes straight into my phone. So feel free to drop any sort of question.
Okay. We would link to you in the show notes. Yeah, as I said, it's been very, very interesting. Getting to learn more about volume and just check out. So thank you so much, Simone.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Cheers.